You guys, I mute myself all the time. What is wrong with me? But you know what, Irene, listen. Okay, y'all, this is how you know stuff is live. Because if it was up to me, I would never make a mistake. There would never be any issues. But anyway, I'm so excited that you guys are here. It's been a while.
Yes.
I have been here with Tamika Hall Live, and I'm so super excited. We have such a great topic. I already see that we have Cassandra McCrae that's hanging out with us in the virtual building. Thank you all so much for tuning into Tamika Hall Live. We are currently live now in multiple platforms, but I'm especially proud and excited that we are live on Amazon Live right now. So do me a favor. If you're tuned in, why don't you head over to Amazon Live for me? Make sure that you follow me there, and then you can also make comments. And if you haven't bought this great book, I like what you waiting on. I need you to log in and to purchase this book, Surviving the Badge. Listen, we have so many heroes every single day. We have a lot of different heroes, modern day heroes,
Yes.
and nowadays they wear blue. And I know that our country has definitely gone through a lot of changes. Really, we've always kind of gone through changes if you are a black or brown person, but especially in the really in the last year, we have really seen a lot when it comes to the women and men that are in blue. And so tonight I'm excited to introduce to some and to present to others. Y'all know that I'm super saved and sanctified. So we gotta put that in there, Irene. I'm saved and sanctified, girl. But I'm excited to introduce to some and present to others Miss Irene Reyes-Smith. She is the author of Surviving the Badge, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk about it. But I had to have Irene here because it's such a poignant, such a critical topic that we're dealing with, and you happen to be protecting a person you love while serving in blue. So, Irene, first of all, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Tamika. Thank you. I'm so excited.
Me too. I'm super psyched that you're
Yes.
here. Talk to us about your book, Surviving the Badge.
So my book, Surviving the Badge, it was really I'm not gonna say that it was I'm not gonna say it was hard. It was really easy because it was about my life. So I know when the Lord spoke to me about writing this book, I was like a little hesitant. I was like, no, my personal business. I don't want to put it out there. But I mean, who better to tell the story than, myself? It's a story about me being in law enforcement. My son decides that he want to live a life of, being in the streets. And here I am, law enforcement and protecting and serving. So basically, that's what the book is about, me saving my son and keeping him safe and protecting the community that I serve in. And one thing that really stood out to Mika in the book was a passage that I had in there. And it was talking about my son the first time that he got shot. Um, the Holy Spirit, I tell you, it is amazing. The night before that this happened, the Holy Spirit got me up and said, anoint your son, anoint a certain pair of shoes that he's always wearing. And I'm just
Uh-oh,
like,
uh-oh.
right. And I'm like, wow, what is about to happen? And I'm like, really? I'm like, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, okay, being obedient. I did it. Lo and behold, that next day, that same evening was when the shooting took place. When I tell you, only thing that happened to my son, he got grazed in his thumb, and the very same shoes that I anointed, it just grazed the top of that shoe. I said, look at God. Look at
My
God.
God.
Yes.
There's so much that we can unpack there. And I'm going to start just with the fact that you were obedient.
Yes.
You could have gone to sleep. You're like, look, I'm tired, anything, but
Yeah.
you actually got up.
Yeah.
What about um people who they're like, I don't know if it's the voice of God. How is somebody supposed to identify that it's not just them speaking out of turn or thinking within their mind, and it's really God that's speaking to them?
And that's a good question. So I know for me, and not everybody is the same or have that same relationship when it comes to that. But I know for me, like when it's an unrest, and I couldn't like get back to sleep. I couldn't just lay down because it was just on my mind. It was just playing over and over. Anoint your son, anoint these shoes,
Hmm.
anoint his head. So I know for me, that's how the Holy Spirit speaks to me. So I would tell anybody the one thing that really got me through the different encounters in the book was God. He was my guide and my faith in him. I tell you, I don't know no other way that I really would have gotten through it. So I would tell people that connection and that relationship is really good and is really key. We go through a lot in life. Some things, you know, are supposed to happen, and some things, God would just see us through them. But I tell you, the Lord was my guide, for being in law enforcement, over 30 years, and just protecting and serving. And now it's your own seed, it's your own
Yeah.
flesh and blood, that speaks volume. And I've gotten so many comments and so many accolades, and people's like, Irene, I don't know how you did it. And, they don't know if they would have been able to publish a book like that. And I said, well, I said, my story has really helped a lot of people, even other law enforcement officers, because we deal with so much.
Hmm.
And then when it hits home, it's even harder.
It's even harder. I just want to give a couple of shout outs. First of all, thank you so much, Sharon and Raquel. Thank you all for being on Amazon Live, and thank you for following us. I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Sharon's also hanging out with us here. We also have Shanice that's here. Wendy, thank you so much for hanging out and paying attention. And Wendy, you're current. I think Wendy is actually in law enforcement. Am I right, Wendy? You work within law enforcement. I think that's so the connection that you and I have. While you were telling your testimony, Valerie said amazing, and then Shanice turned around and said, "Praise God for His divine protection, for His divine protection." Now, listen. So you said that you actually had people that I don't know if you would call it ridicule. I don't know if you would call it a naysayer, but whatever it was, there were people that were negative about the fact that you chose to write about your experience. What do you say to people that are dealing with naysayers and when it comes to pursuing the purpose that God has put on their life?
What I would say to them is, it's hard if you haven't walked in those shoes. And we're always going to have naysayers. And actually, that was one of my hesitance in really like publishing this book. But when I tell you, Sharon was a heaven sent. And I tell you, she was a heaven sent, because without her, she was like, no, Irene, it's needed. It's your story. And what I tell people is, what God has given you is for you. And no man can take that from you. And I say to them, also what God has given you, He's gonna protect you from all of that.
Come on.
He's gonna protect you from all of that. So even when it was getting close to publish the book, of
Mhm.
course, the enemy, he was trying to get at me, and I was like, it's done now. It is done now. Ain't no going back.
That's
There's
right.
no going back. So I tell people, don't listen to that. Keep on moving, because at the end of the day, some of them probably wish it was them that was really doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Raquel King says to you, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
So she's hanging out with us on Amazon Live, and she said that she is so proud of you, and that's always nice to have people that are proud of us. I want to deal with. Let's talk about you in blue. Now I know that you recently retired, so congratulations and thank you so much for serving our community and keeping everybody safe. But you know, I know you've heard it. There's been a lot of arguments, regarding the rise of racism, police brutality, injustice. I'm really interested to know from somebody who had to serve on the front lines. Do you believe that there has indeed, over the last couple of years, been a rise in the violence, or do you think that social media is just allowing us to see it more? What are your thoughts on that? I know it kind of pushed you, like, I don't know where it puts you, but yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
So I can say this, there has been a rise. And one thing I can tell people, it's hard when you're walking in those shoes in law enforcement. It's no easy task. You're going to have your good and your bad in anything. And the one thing I can tell people is to remember that the men and women in blue are human beings as well. We're not perfect. We're there to do an assignment. We're there to carry out what needs to be done. And a lot of times we're not the enemy. We're not the enemy, because at the end of the day, you need law enforcement to carry out the task to keep order. So
Hmm.
we're not the enemy. And even with the good and the bad, and that's in every profession. So the ones, that are good, we just have to keep on pushing on. And for those that are not living up to that standard, we have to be the one to either guide them, or they're going to have to leave the profession.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Taisha and Cassandra are both saying, congratulations to you over here on Amazon. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Mercy, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Just very, very honored that you all are taking your time to hang out with us. Listen, if you're just joining, I am sitting here having an up close and personal conversation with best-selling author Irene Reyes-Smith, and we're talking about her book, Surviving the Badge. And if I have to just catch you up for a hot second, Surviving the Badge is really her tale of serving the community as a police officer and also having to protect her son from the very system that she was sworn to protect. So, would you mind? I mean, obviously, I don't want you to give it all away, but can you talk to us just a little bit about what, when you say you had to protect your son? I understand that he was in a violent situation, but how did you kind of have to start protecting him against the system? And again, don't give it away, because everybody needs to buy the book.
Yes,
So,
they do.
yeah, so talk to us a little bit about that.
So protecting my son, meaning that, so my son was incarcerated. And even in the incarceration, I stood by my son. I stood by my son. But what I had to explain to him is that, you know, you're getting older, and there are consequences behind your actions. So even with me standing beside him, I still had to let him know there are consequences behind your action, and also letting him know, you know, these are things that you're doing with a job that I took to uphold the law. So
Hmm.
not at no time did I tell him it was okay to be doing what he's doing, because it's not okay, because wrong is wrong and right is right. So even in that, Tamika, I did have to make a lot of hard decisions, and a lot of it came through prayer and fasting. And at some point, the Lord said, "Take your hands out of it, Irene. I got him. Take
Hmm.
your hands out of it. I got him." So even in that, I knew, even with my son being incarcerated, that God had him.
Hmm.
I knew that He had him.
And I think that's really important for us to understand, that we can lead our children, but there just comes a point where they have to take over and be the captain of their own lives. So
Absolutely.
you titled the book Surviving the Badge. So I understand you were protecting your son. What does that do to you? You're serving. We're dealing with all of this dissension that's taking place in the world. Like, we have a shutdown that took place last year, and that did not necessarily stop the rise of crime, especially not in the city where you serve. What was it that you had to face that caused you to title the book Surviving the Badge?
Oh wow. It was a lot.
Hmm.
For one, the shame, the shame, just thinking, because a lot of things that was going on with my son was in the area that I was working. So a lot of it was amongst my peers that I work with. Even having some of them coming to me saying, Irene, I saw your son, I talked to him, you know, um, I try to give him guidance, because sometimes even as a parent, sometimes you need someone from the outside to come in, and help, because we just don't see everything, or we don't see certain things.
Yeah.
So sometimes a lot of it was the guilt, because he would say to me, well, why did you have to become a police officer anyway? So
Excuse me.
right, it's like,
Sorry for taking care of you.
right,
Like,
take care, you right. So I mean, it was a lot to me. It was shame, it was guilt, it was just hearing whispers behind my back, like, how could
wow.
she allow him to get this far out of control? And the truth be told, we're all dealing with something when it comes to our kids. It might not be to that far of extreme. It might just be in other areas. So it was a lot. And that's why when I say that, God was my God, I tell you, it was, the praying, it was just all of that. Because without it, I don't know how I would have made it. I just really don't. I just really don't. So yeah, I would say the shame, the guilt, and just really holding my head up high and knowing I'm gonna get through this one way or the other.
Yes. Yes.
It's
We
just
have to
me and God.
encourage ourselves. That's it. We have to encourage ourselves. And I really appreciate you just being very transparent, because I don't know why, especially as parents, we feel like we have to be perfect and that our children are supposed to be perfect. And I mean, I just remember, before I started, working for myself full time, I was a teacher, and I also had been in, in education, from an administrative level. And so when I had a child that was acting up, the first thing I did, I'm like, yo, I keep everybody else in line. You want to sit up here and act a fool? I don't know what's wrong with you. Like, I'm turning the finger on me, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? You have me looking crazy, And I remember God also basically said something very similar. He said, look, you're gonna just have to, you're gonna have to step out of this. You're gonna have to let me do the work.
Yes.
And I had, it's an African proverb about it takes a village to raise a child. And we say it all the time. Presidents have used it as their mantra. But I think we, especially as a beautiful Black people, we have gotten away from our village.
Yes.
And the Lord
yes.
the Lord really pushed me to bring in my village.
Yes.
Sharon says, this is beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Irene. There's so much power and transparency.
Yeah.
How did you begin to kind of build your village? Because even though you have a village, everybody can't speak to your child. I don't care if he was acting up. Everybody can't speak to him. True. So how did you begin kind of formulating your village?
And it's funny you say that, Tamika, because so I did truancy for almost almost 18 years. So that, I think, is what started me to where I am now. And it was almost like God was just preparing me, because I was having those same issues with my son. And when I tell you, it was my brothers, the neighbors, other officers, I surrounded myself with just individuals, that were there just to help me out. And, dealing with that with him. And then here I am helping other families with their kids that don't want to go to school. So when it got to that point, I could kind of feel what they were going through. I was a little bit more passionate. I was a little bit more patient, able to, get a lot of resources together as to who they need to speak with, who they can call, who they can talk to, what other programs were out there to help their child. So it kind of like was setting the tone for surviving the badge to be. So when
isn't it amazing that the things that are the most painful often are tied into our purpose? God.
That is so true. That is so true, because everything I was going through, it was for now. It was for now. And I was just like, Lord, why me? Why I gotta be going through all this? And he was like, it's not just for you. is to help other individuals. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was helping other families. They was calling me. It was almost like around the clock. Look, he's not doing this. They doing this. They not going to school. I'm like, okay, okay. But when I tell you, it was just a blessing. It was just a
Wow.
blessing. Yeah. And
Amen.
I kind of just got like a feel for what I was going through, and then just other individuals just reaching out to me. So that was actually kind of how like I formed my village, and then other officers, just talking with them, and they were seeing what I was going through, and we kind of just formed like a network.
What would you say to parents who they might have a child that's currently incarcerated? What would you say to them for them to, keep their head up and for them to be a support to their child while their child is in the system?
I would say to them, that was no easy task for me, because I was like, oh my goodness. I said, are you kidding me? I'm like, here I am. In my mind, I'm thinking, in law enforcement,
Right.
we actually like lock people up and put them in jail. And I'm like, here I am going visiting, my son.
Mhm.
So I would say to them, for one, keep your head up. For another, be there as their support. Don't allow them to let you feel guilty for nothing that you have done, because
You're dropping some gems.
once they get to a certain age, they have to understand these are based you're here because based on the actions that you decided to take,
Hmm.
and not because of how they were raised. And that's what I had to keep telling myself. I'm like, I didn't raise this boy like this. A
Hmm.
lot of it was because of actions that they decided to do, or felt like, okay, it was something else better out there than what they were getting.
So you listen, especially the part of not blaming yourself and not allowing them to blame you. Is
Mhm.
that something that typically happens when anyone, not even just a child, they're incarcerated? Is there like a blame game that kind of happens? Do you get what I'm saying? Because I know
Mhm.
there are like kind of just some norms that will take place when people whether they're maybe they go to drug and alcohol rehab. We
Yeah.
see that there are typical things that happen, but is the blame game kind of something that takes place when somebody is put in the system?
Mhm. Mhm. It is, because a lot of times they feel like, if you would have done this,
Hmm.
I would have been better doing this. Or if you would have done this, I would have been prime example.
Wow.
Prime example. And it's in the book. I tell you guys, y'all gonna have to get this book, because this
Yes, honey.
lets
Yes.
you scriptures in there that you can follow. And one thing, I had to end up sending my son away to boarding school.
Wow.
And even in that, he was like, if you wouldn't have sent me to that school, I wouldn't have learned about this, and I wouldn't have learned anything about drugs. I learned about the drugs at the boarding school. So, just different little snippets that, they would try to do the name blaming game. If you wouldn't have done this, I would have been doing this. Or if you wouldn't have done this, I would have turned out this way. And no, we all have our own destinies. We all have
Yes.
our own destinies.
I love that. You've been dropping so many gems tonight. What type of impact do you want Surviving the Badge to have on the person that reads it? And who is it for? Is it for all of us, or is it just for somebody whose child's incarcerated? Who needs to pick up this book?
No, I would say it's for everybody. I would say it's for everybody. It's not just about because it could be a daughter. It doesn't necessarily have to be a son. It could be a daughter that you're dealing with. It could be a nephew. It could be a godson. So I would say it is for everybody, and it speaks volume to everyday life.
Mm.
Volume to everyday life. Like you said, how we've gotten away from just having a village, and I even put that in the book. About just having a village surrounding you.
Wow, good
So
stuff.
the book is for everyone.
What would you say to the mother, the father? Because now people are afraid.
I know.
A lot of people are afraid, especially of law enforcement and different things. What can we do? Like, how should we be educating
Mhm.
our children, especially our Black boys? What should we be doing about educating them with dealing with the police?
So in reference to that, I would tell especially when it comes to young Black men. Um, it's hard to really like speak on that because you really don't know the mindset of
Hmm.
every officer and what they're encountering. So I would say to our young Black men, just try to carry yourself in a manner, um, because a lot of it is, some of it is probably stereotyping. Some of it is probably, just them looking at, because of the stigmatism of young Black men that's already
Hmm.
out here. A lot of people say, oh, where they're thugs, they're all carrying weapons. And that's not the case. That's not the case for all of our young Black men. It just isn't. So I would tell them, just to be mindful and just to really be careful out here. If an officer tells you to do something, just kind of like listen. Don't like make like any sudden moves or anything. Just listen. And I would tell them to try to be, what's the word I can use? Respectful,
Hmm.
for lack of better words. Just try to be respectful.
Be respectful, be respectful. But that is important about don't make any sudden movements because we are dealing with people who are humans. And like you said, we're dealing with folks we don't know what their mindset is,
Mhm.
and we don't know if they're operating with with these ingrained discriminations in their mind, and a sudden movement could make them feel like somebody's about to take their life or what have you. I just want to say, Robin J, thank you so much for following us during this broadcast over on Amazon. Y'all are rocking my life. I'm excited. I'm excited. Heather and Taisha both wanted to make sure everybody understands the book is for everybody. The book is for everybody. If you have not grabbed your copy of Surviving the Badge, listen, it is available. It's right here on Amazon. It's right on Amazon. We want you to grab the book. Get the book. And honestly, I'm feeling like we need to be giving this out at Christmas time. This is
Yes.
that type of book. And also when I was reading, it's also something that we should be reading with our children. And sitting down as a family and having it as a discussion.
Conversations,
I
yeah.
want to ask you, what's next for you? What you got going on next? You've written this book. I'm pretty sure you've been around traveling
Yeah.
and speaking on this. So tell us what's next.
So what I have next, Tamika, I'm working on a co-author book. It's going to be
Nice.
Women in Blue. We can't leave our females out because women really is the rock of the police departments. So yes, I have a co-author book coming out, Women in Blue, and also I'm working on my YouTube channel. I'm gonna work on doing some Mondays with moms for families that are dealing with issues or maybe situations or challenges for their family members that are incarcerated. So
Nice.
that's another project that I'm working on.
That's gonna be really powerful for us to be able to just hear from you. I just think it's so important for us to actually be able to hear from somebody that was in law enforcement. You said for 30 years
Yes.
before
Yeah.
you retired. What does life look right now?
Whew, oh my goodness. Busy.
Are you busy? I
Yes.
was about to say, girl. I was about to say you're a fellow Maryland girl. I gotta come over. We gotta break crabs together and eat. But I guess you're too busy to have crabs with me. Like,
Look, that's fine. I will open up my schedule for you to just let me know when.
yeah. So you're busy. Are you still like? Are you working? Did you get bored? Because look, my father retired 2 years ago.
Okay.
Again, my father was in the military. He retired from the military, decided he didn't want to just be retired from the military, decided to be work for the postal service. He ended up being in the postal service and then retired from there too. And dad is like around the house building stuff. And it's funny, he's like one day we're having a conversation. He's like, I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna hire somebody to come build a shed or if I'm just gonna build a shed myself. I'm like, dude, the fact that you're even contemplating getting out there and building an entire shed
Right.
for yourself is pretty amazing. So,
It is.
he's like, doing landscaping, and he has a dog now, and the dog is more spoiled than I ever was.
Wow.
So like, are you working? Did you get bored and go back to work, or like, what are
You
you
know
doing?
what? And you know what? To me, it's funny you said that because I actually did go back to work.
Did you?
Yes.
Was it because
I went back as a senior officer.
you just retired? Has it even been 3 months?
Maybe 2.5.
Girl.
Yes, I figure, just for me giving back to, to the community and helping those officers that are coming up behind us, just to do things different and treat people how you want to be treated. So yes,
Well,
absolutely.
I'm gonna tell you, everybody that I know in my life that they've retired, when they do go back to work, they go back with a whole different attitude.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
they make sure that people know they don't have to be there, that they are there by choice, and they will leave in a second. Like that's the one thing I love it. Like my aunt did it. Like I'm like,
Wow.
when y'all go back to work, y'all are no nonsense. Like you guys are the ones, you come with the most wisdom, the most experience. Like everybody really needs you there, but
Mhm.
you let everybody know, I don't need you, you need me. So I'm pretty sure you have a totally different swag now.
I do. It is totally different now. It's totally different. I can just like kind of relax, do
Yeah.
things, talk to them.
Yeah, what you gonna do? Give me a bad review? That's fine. I'm already retired. You know what I mean? Like, it's a whole nother ball game when you retire. Well, Irene, before we let you go, let us know how we can find you and connect with you on social media, your website, all that good
Yes,
stuff.
yes. So my website, I love it. My website is authorireners.com. And on the website, I have the book. I have my little t-shirt that I'm wearing here, Surviving the Veg, my products. So yes, get your t-shirts. I have them in purple. I have them here in blue for those
That's it.
that are writing. Yes. And I'm also on Instagram, IA Reyes 08 on Instagram. So yes, send me shout out, check out my website. And also the book is in Walmart, Barnes and Noble,
Come on, ma'am.
Amazon, it's on Target.
It sounds like you worked with Sharon from Penn Legacy. It sounds like you work with good old Sharon
I'm
from
trying
Penn Legacy.
Yes, yes. My Penn Legacy family.
That's it.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Tell you.
I gotta give you, you're getting a whole bunch of shout outs here on Amazon. Raquel says, Auntie, you are so
Oh, thank
awesome. Love you so much.
you.
Taisha says, and I hope I'm saying her name correctly. Taisha Taylor says, way to go, Irene.
Thank you.
There's just a J there. Why did I do the J though? I don't know. So I don't know Jay, I don't know exactly who you are. You got to put your full name in there. But Jay says, I'm so very proud of you.
Oh,
Elmer Thomas says, I love you, your brother, Petey. Look,
yes,
he just wants you to know. Like he said, look, I want you to understand it is me. And he says, you have always been my guide. That is so sweet. That is so sweet. Well, listen, y'all, this has been really rich. Thank you so much, Irene, for coming and for sharing with us and being transparent. And not just talking to us about a book, but sharing your life with us and sharing spiritual gems for us and just ways that we can even, help our own children. Is there anything else you'd like to leave with us before we go?
I would just tell people that, life is pretty much what we make it. And, we have to decide which route we want to take. Even with whatever cards we're dealt, you just have to decide how it is you want to carry out your life, what purposes you want to fulfill. And I would tell people, whatever profession you in, do it where you're living life on purpose, giving back, to your community, and also helping out. And, even with going through what I went through with my son, working with the youth has just always been my passion. Nice. It's always been my passion. So, that's something that, it just came easy for me, working with them. So that's something that I'm real passionate about and, giving back, helping out and just being that individual that if I see my brother or sister down, I'm there to help out. So I would just tell people, just live your life on purpose, with purpose, and know that whatever you do it for Christ, because only what you do for Christ will last.
Irene, listen, I'm tapping in spiritually. Are you a minister?
No, I'm not.
You're not a minister. I'm not going to be
A lot of,
surprised
a lot
if
of
ministry is birthed out of you. Honestly, I really see you in ministry, and I see
and
that.
I am in ministry a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I see God really using you in ministry and really to just continue to bring Him glory, and I'm really excited about that. Valerie says, "Thank you for your service, and we need more like you, Mrs. I."
Oh, thank you
Um,
so much. Thank you so
I gotta let you know that the Eric Lucas family is watching. They
Oh,
wanted to let you know that. Um, Elmer says, "My sister, you always taught me the way with my sons." And let's see here. Ellis, I just want to tell you thank you so much for following. I really appreciate you. AS, I'm not sure who AS is, but they said very good interview. And Jay is your cousin Cookie.
Oh, okay.
What up, Cookie? Listen, don't talk. You got a name like Cookie. Listen, we're thinking. I'm automatically thinking about Cookie Lions and stuff like that. Hey, Cookie. Hey, girl. It's all family here. All family. Oh, AS is Alicia. Hey, boo. Okay, that's my little boo boo. Alicia, thank you for hanging out with us, Alicia.
Okay.
Irene, thank you so much for hanging with us. Y'all, listen, I'm gonna be right back here in about 20 minutes. I'm gonna be right back on here, and I'm gonna be talking to folks who are interested in pitching their movie, a sitcom, whatever it might be, to movie executives. So you're going to want to jump off and get that link and jump right back on with me because I'm excited about that. But listen, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for hanging out with me and Miss Irene Reyes-Smith. First, Irene, this is so random. What's your ethnicity? Because with Reyes being your last name, are you Hispanic? Because I speak Spanish, girl. I have a degree. So when I saw Reyes, I was like, should I say that with an accent or no?
Reyes.
Yes, girl. I said you're not gonna be too extra because people already think I'm extra, and I am, and I'm okay with it. But I said I'll go ahead and just I'll just go ahead and say it the way everybody else in America says it, Reyes. But no, it's Reyes. Y'all better learn how to say her name. Say her name.
I love it, Tamika.
Listen, you guys.
One other thing, Tamika.
Absolutely.
Going back to what you said about ministry, I even carry that throughout my job.
Yes.
I started even like prayer chats with the officers, so they would look forward to it in the morning.
So you are a minister.
And
whether you're licensed or not, you are a minister. Absolutely, you are. Absolutely, you are.
So,
listen, you guys,
and it really helped.
Listen, I don't know why we've gotten away from prayer, but prayer really does change things. It really, really does. Even if it's nothing more to calm your spirit, to shut down dissension before it even starts. You know what I mean? Prayer really changes things.
I agree.
I don't know what this person just said, but I'm not even repeating that. We don't say the N-word on the we don't. I'm sorry, sir. We don't do that. But anyways, thank you so much for being here. Listen, folks, if you have not grabbed the book, please get the book Surviving the Badge, and do me a favor because it helps me out. It lets Amazon know that I'm like super cool. My kids hate when I say that, but I am super cool. Right. And I need for you to click the link and buy the book from the broadcast. Within the broadcast, it lets Amazon know that I'm like dope, and that Irene was here and we did a good thing on tonight. So do me a favor and do that, because I saw a lot of you saying that you were getting ready to buy it. Maria said, I'm about to go ahead and buy that thing real quick. I love that. Brenda Potts says, yes, giving out as a gift. I love Brenda. Brenda is my cousin, and she's always a support to folks in the especially in the African American community. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me. Listen, you guys, remember you were created to make God famous. You all have a blessed evening. And
Absolutely.
please get the book. Stop
Yeah.
playing. Get it. All right. Y'all have a blessed one.
Thanks, Tamika. Have a good one.